Hello and welcome. My name is Mike Russo, Russo's Books in Bakersfield, California, and we're excited today to have you join us for a special author event live on Zoom. And Emily joins us today from her home in Hawaii. And let me tell you a little bit about Emily as we welcome her into our chat. I will mention that we do have books available, and Emily will certainly be speaking on this. In addition to books, they are $18.95 available on russosbooks.com. But remember, we always discount our books, so they are 15% off. In addition, you'll also get a free autographed book plate that Emily has sent our way. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Emily. And that will be made available at any time. Just please send your orders to russosbooks.com. You can also contact us by email or telephone, and we'd be happy to process your order that way. With the loss of two husbands and her parents and other family members and friends, Emily has had in-depth experience in the grief discovery process and can offer audiences real answers on how to transformationally move through grief to a life filled with joy and love. Emily holds a master's degree in English with a concentration in writing from CSU Bakersfield. She's been teaching and writing composition on the college and university level for over 30 years. She conducts workshops, speaking engagements and retreats, and transforming from loss to joy on the mainland of the United States and in her home on Maui, Hawaii. I've known Emily for over 20 years, back when we had our downtown bookstore, and Emily was very much involved with her husband in the ownership of the Spotlight Theater. She's a Bakersfield mainstay. We're excited to have her join us. Emily has created a unique program called Writing Your Way Through Grief to help others effectively navigate the grieving process. And now her book, Loving and Living Your Way Through Grief. Please welcome Emily. Thank you, Emily, for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike. I am so happy to be here. It was wonderful when I lived in Bakersfield to work with you on community events like One Book, One Bakersfield. And I just have so many memories and friends still in Bakersfield that I thought that your bookstore would be the ideal place to do a book signing.
Thank you.
And it's a book signing is kind of an interesting concept anymore. It used to be that authors flew around from place to place and were there in person and could talk to you and sign your books right there. And nowadays, that's not happening. So we've gotten creative with the way we do things. And a book signing now is I have things for you, like a video like this that you can come to and ask questions here. And you can also, there we go. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted there for a second. We're doing all this technology is new.
It is indeed.
We have, I will today tell you about my book. I'll read to you from my book. I'll show you a little video with comments about my book. And then if you have questions, you can let me know. My website is the same as, excuse me, the name of my book, Loving and Living Your Way Through Grief.com. And you can contact me through there, and there's a lot more information there. So to get started, let me tell you about the book. I have had the experience, as Mike said, of losing a lot of people in my life. And a lot of you in Bakersfield knew my husband, Jacques, who was a professor at BC, and he was an actor on just about every stage in Bakersfield. And Jacques and I had the Spotlight Theater together. And toward the end of his life, he started getting very sick. And I really needed to stay home with him. And I was so grateful to the Spotlight Theater Foundation that I was able to donate the whole theater into the foundation. And they were able to keep it going for a while after that. So when that happened, I started staying home with him. And I was home with him or in the hospital with him for 2 years before he transitioned. And at that time, I was kind of lost. We had been kind of alone. When somebody first gets sick or has a extreme health problem, people come out of the woodwork. They come visit you in the hospital. They come visit you at home. They bring you flowers. They call. They check up on you. But the longer you're sick, the less people pay attention to you. And toward the end of his life, we were pretty much on our own. And that was a challenge. So when he was gone and my theater was gone, and I had stopped teaching at the time at CSUB to open the theater, and that job was gone, and I said, okay, now what am I supposed to do? And it was very sad for quite a while. Fortunately, Cal State called me and offered my job back, which was incredible. So I was able to go back to school then, or back to work at the school then. And I just knew that I was not going to date or get married or find anybody or look for anybody in my future, and was spending, again, much of my time alone. And then I met Ron. And totally unexpected, and what a blessing. And we fell in love and we got married. We were together for 10 years, and he was just a great person. And he taught me a lot of things about living in the moment and how precious that is. And it freed up my life in a way nothing else ever had, because when you just concentrate on the moment, you can really enjoy any time, no matter what's going on. And his transition was much easier. We were surrounded by friends through the whole process, lots of love and support, and it was great. But then, as things happened after he died, I was by myself again. And this time, of course, I grieved. Of course, it was very sad. But I kept thinking, I have to figure out what I'm going to do now. We had moved to Maui 2 years before he died, because he'd lived here before and absolutely loved Maui. And we'd come here on our honeymoon and been here several times. And we were here one time and kind of looked at each other and said, why do we keep going back to the mainland? So we found a fabulous home here and were able to move. It was a scary move, because he had a major, another major heart situation, and was in ICU a couple of weeks before the actual move, and had a pacemaker put in a week before we moved. And it was quite a ride, but he did okay here, and we did get to have 2 beautiful years here. And I met people. I'm surrounded by in Hawaii, the word for family is ohana. And all these people that I met became my ohana, and it was quite wonderful. So I figured that I needed to decide what I was going to do, what my purpose was going to be from then on. And because I'm a writer, I've written 3 college textbooks and taught writing for years, I just started writing. And the more I wrote, the better I felt. And it was a really neat process. So I thought, I'm just going to start inviting people over to see if they want to write with me. So I created a meetup group and asked for people who were dealing with loss or grief if they'd like to come over to my house, and we'd sit around and write together. And it was fabulous. We really liked it. I started out doing it once a month, and they said, this is so cool. Can we come twice a month? So we started doing it twice a month. Then COVID hit. So that went online, and you can join my writing group online now, or you can come to my Writing Together Through Grief Zoom class that I do every Saturday. I'll be doing it later this morning at, it would be 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. If you're interested in that, just contact me through my website, and I'll put you on the list so you'll get the invitation every week. In the meantime, as I was writing, a good friend of Ron's, a really close family friend, who was about 20 years younger than Ron, always called him Dad, which was interesting because he was very Irish and had red hair, and Ron didn't fit that description even a little bit. So he just dropped dead. It was totally unexpected. And I was so concerned for his wife, and I was in Hawaii and she was on the mainland in Ventura. And I thought, what can I do? So I sat down and wrote her an email right away, a big long email, because I knew if I sent her something in the mail that she wasn't likely to get it very soon coming from across the ocean. And I thought there are things she needs to know right now that she would never have thought about, because she would never have thought about Chap dying. So I wrote her lots of information of what to do, what to think of, what not to do, what to ignore. And then I emailed it to a friend of mine who lived in Ventura, a couple of blocks away from her, who hand delivered it to her. It was hours after Chap had died. She let me know later how invaluable that help was, that I told her things that nobody else had told her and that she hadn't thought of before. And I thought, I got to do more. I'm glad I wrote the letter, but I've got to do more. So I thought, I'm going to support her by sending her something in the mail every week for the first year, because that first year is really a challenge, and you feel more alone as the year goes by, because people tend to not talk about the fact that you're alone. They don't talk about who you lost. They don't talk about anything like that. And a lot of times they don't even talk to you because they're not sure what to say. So I sat down and wrote the content for 52 different cards, and it just flowed so easily. I thought, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I love to take pictures here on Maui. So I created the cards on my computer with pictures that I'd taken on the front, and then whatever it was that I said for that week inside. And I mailed her one every week. And I could write in the card something personal too, in addition to what was there on the weeks that I wanted to do that. Well, after I did that, my granddaughter, my step granddaughter, called and told me that her dad, my stepson, had just had his best friend, who was about Chap's age, die suddenly. And I had told her about my cards, so she said, could you make some for me? So I did. And as I was in the process of doing that, I thought, you know what? I've got an outline for a book here. There are 52 cards. I could write 52 chapters and have something for each week of the year that somebody could look toward. So as soon as I said that, an agent fell into my lap who's absolutely fabulous. She lives in Toronto, and the likelihood of us getting together was not very strong, but we found each other and worked together. We found a publisher. We wrote the book, and it's actually came out January 19th in 2021. And I'm just thrilled with how well it's doing and the reception it's getting. So right now, what I'm going to do is read you a chapter out of the book, because this will give you a feel for what it's like. In the book, there are chapters. The chapters aren't real long, and at the end of each chapter, let's see. At the end of each chapter, there's a practice, a suggestion for something that you can do, and that I think really helps to have something instructive. And it'll be something like writing, and lots of different writing things, but it has other things too, so that it gets you kind of out of your head and into action in dealing with your grief. So this is chapter 7. It's called Gratitude. When I thought I really didn't have anything to live for, I started writing down what I'm grateful for. I kept writing more things and making new lists, and I wasn't repeating myself. This showed me how good my life actually was, and that I really had lots to live for. For a long time after Jacques died, I didn't smile. Life just kind of happened, and I just let it. A couple of my friends, Joe and Ruth, were concerned about me and gave me a copy of the movie The Secret to watch. I watched it with a chip on my shoulder. I didn't see how anything it said could have anything to do with me. It seemed like the movie was about magical thinking, and I could just decide that I wanted something and I would have it, and I didn't see how that could come true. After I watched this movie, I noticed that there, in the case for the DVD, there was a sheet that said, "Don't turn this over until you've watched the movie." Since I had watched the movie, I turned it over, and it was simply a sheet with lines and a statement at the top that said, write down things I was grateful for. And my attitude was, yeah, right. But I decided to challenge myself and started writing. It didn't take me long to fill up the page. I was surprised because I was thinking I was miserable, yet I easily filled a page with things I was grateful for, and it felt good. This little exercise got me going, and I found that I was constantly thinking of more things to be grateful for, and I had just had to write them down. I wrote on scraps of paper in my purse, on the backs of receipts, and actually anything that was handy when a thought came up. I finally bought a little journal and started to record things there. I was absolutely amazed that I kept coming up with new things. And the more new things I came up with, the better I felt. And I realized I was smiling. Knowing how good writing down my gratitude was making me feel made me want to share this feeling with others. I started paying attention when anybody did something I was grateful for, and I would express my gratitude right then. If someone held the door open for me, I thanked that person. When my hairdresser cut my hair, I told her how great it made me feel to have her do such a wonderful job. I even wrote notes to people to thank them for a variety of things that they did that made my life easier and made me smile. The more grateful I became, the happier I became. I felt better. Most of my physical complaints subsided. I lost weight, and life in general looked good again. And I knew that I would survive. I examined my gratitude journey and decided to research if I was the only one who felt like this, or if there was some science behind it. And I was delighted to find there's lots of research and that everyone agrees with being grateful and actually acting on this gratitude actually creates measurable positive results. Here are some of the areas that improve. You can expect more energy. Finding yourself sad most of the time is heavy. The tears and sorrow weigh you down. The positiveness of gratitude releases that weight from your shoulders, and you will find yourself more than likely to do things. And I realized that the more I did, the better I felt. You will feel healthier. The more energy I had and the more I used that energy to walk or swim or dance, the more my physical conditions improved. I discovered that the headaches I was having were from the position in which I was lying on the couch when I just couldn't convince myself to move. All I needed to do at that point to feel better was to get up off that couch. And as hard as that was, I did, and I did feel better. You will be kinder. We spend our time just thinking of ourselves, and that's pretty miserable. But when we reach out to others, the kindness comes along. Today I called a friend who can't drive and asked her out to breakfast. She was so thrilled to get out of the house, and I was thrilled to spend time with her. That act of random kindness made the day for both of us, and all it took was a phone call. Your work will be better. The more you recognize the gratitude you experience from working at your job or volunteering or creating things, the more productive you will be and the more pride you will take in what you do. Or you may realize you're grateful to have this work experience and that you're grateful for a new work opportunity so you can move on to your next adventure. Your creativity will flow. Whatever gifts and talents you have will open wide as you realize that these gifts you can use to enhance your life experiences. I find that I can cook, paint, sew, sculpt, and write with ease when I'm smiling and being grateful for the inspiration that comes from being grateful for the process. Your relationships will grow deeper. When you consistently and sincerely tell those around you what you appreciate about them and what they do, they're likely to start expressing gratitude too, not only to you, but to others around them. The ripple effect that occurs when you throw a rock in a calm lake is similar to the ripple effect that comes from the expression of gratitude. If you express your gratitude to someone for opening a door for you, that person's likely to thank the next person who opens the door for him or her. And more doors will be opened. You will experience more joy. When I met Peggy, Shanice, and Sarah at an event one evening, we discovered that we were all experiencing loss. Among the four of us, we'd experienced the deaths of many family members, And instead of expressing sorrow, we were expressing how grateful we were to have known the people before they died and the joy they brought into our lives. We realized that focusing on joy instead of pain allowed our happy memories to come to the forefront. You will notice gratitude all around you. I was having lunch with Debbie today, and a young woman came up to Debbie to tell her that she had been her dance teacher when she was very young, and that she loved her dance lessons, which made her such a positive impact on her life. Debbie had the biggest smile and was just thrilled by this unexpected gesture. Gratitude is a thing that once you start practicing it and noticing when others express it, the world just seems full of positive thoughts and smiles, and you helped make all that happen. A few things to remember when you're expressing your gratitude. First, be spontaneous. You don't need to plan anything in advance. Just living with an attitude of gratitude will remind you to express your thanks and joy about situations as they rise. Thank your Uber driver when your ride ends. Thank your servers at a cafe when they bring you food. Thank your friend for calling you on the phone. You can even thank your flowers for the gorgeous blooms, or your garden for its yummy vegetables, or the sky for its amazing blue color. You can speak or write your gratefulness. You can express yourself to someone specific, or you can say something in general to a group. You can write a thank you note, or you can write a list in your journal, or when you lie in bed at night, you can go over everything that happened that day you were grateful for. This works much better than counting sheep to help you drift off to sleep. The method is not as important as the act, and practicing gratitude doesn't have to take a lot of time. And as the Nike commercials say, just do it. So that gives you an example of the kind of chapters there are in the book. After that chapter, at the end of the chapter, there's also practice that you can do with gratitude that gives you some suggestions. And I just know that you'll feel good just by having done that. It's really neat. Now, when I was in the process of getting ready for this book to launch, I asked a few friends who knew me or had read drafts of the book or had something to do with the process of the book to share some information with me, whatever they'd like to. And I made a little video out of it that I'm going to show you now. Just have to figure out how to do this. It will just take me a minute. I'm going to share my screen. Lots of stuff on it here. Okay. And here, can you, I hope you're seeing this, Mike. Is this working? I'll go ahead and play this. This is
looks good. No problem.
Okay.
Looks good.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's go back to the beginning here. And here we go.
Greetings. I'm Stephen Thoreau. My father was Jacques Thoreau, who loved and adored Emily and was her biggest cheerleader and fan. 30 years ago, my dad wrote a book called Living Fully Through Facing Dying. Out of her journey of profound loss and sadness, Emily has emerged to give us living and loving your way through grief, a work which is sure to bless and comfort all of us who need its message of love and hope.
Everyone has a unique experience of grief, no matter what the loss is. And some people like to be alone and they turn inward and find healing that way. Yet other people like to be with others and they find solace in company. No matter what your grieving style, this book that Emily has created is a great companion, and I think you'll find it quite helpful.
If grief was a language, Emily speaks it fluently and beautifully. And I'm honored to not only call Emily my friend, but also to have held her hand and have had her help me through my journey of grief.
I am honored to witness the persistence and the passion with which Emily is getting her message of hope out to those experiencing loss. She really does care, and she really does want to help.
I am proud to endorse this book. I am confident that it will help many people who are going through grief.
It's such an important book, such a timely, important book for so many people.
Everything that Emily has really done has been of top-notch expertise. She brings her heart and her smarts into every product and into every project. And her new book is no different. It is outstanding. It is authentic.
She's had the dynamic experience of that, and now she has a very positive articulation of how to move through grief in a very affirmative way.
Loving and living your way through grief is such an important message, and it's coming at the right time right now because so many people are facing challenges and facing loss. And if you are experiencing loss and grief, this book can really help you to start to reclaim joy and start living and loving again in your life.
I am so excited for the many people who will now be able to find an instruction manual to walk them through each day of their life for that first year of loss. And that is remarkable, and this is just transformational.
Now, hundreds, thousands, millions of people are going to be able to get the same help that you gave me when my dear children passed away. That's a blessing.
Emily helped me so very much when my husband died. Her process of getting you through the grief and the pain and allowing you to grow and become whole again is just an exceptional opportunity for you to have. She's outlined this in her book, and I encourage you to read it. It's wonderful.
I am a personal witness to the fact that Emily Threatt walks her talk. In her book, Loving and Living Your Way Through Grief, she gives practical solutions on how to ride the waves of grief, whether it's through laughter, love, anything that brings you joy. You are going to love this book.
Just wanted to congratulate you and tell you how excited I am for the release of your book. I can't tell you how comforting your words have been to me, that helped me through my grief and continue to help me. And I'm so excited that you'll be able to share this with so many other people and help them on their journeys. I'm so proud.
Congratulations, Emily. I love you so very much, and I am so honored to witness your book to be received by all the grievers of the world.
So excited for you, so proud of you, and I wish you well and send abundance and prosperity to this book and for it to reach everyone because you are such an amazing person. You have such a beautiful soul, and personally, you have helped me with my grief and my family's grief. So much looking forward to reading this book and sharing it with friends and family.
Wishing you the very best on your book launch. Having been through a spell of grief myself this last year, I know your book will mean a lot to many, many people.
Congratulations on your book launch. I'm so looking forward to receiving it and reading it.
I'm so excited about your new book launch. I know it's going to be a great blessing to so many people. Congratulations.
Congratulations and mazel tov on the birth of your book. We are so excited.
Thank you so much for sharing all your precious love, light, and wisdom with the world, and I'm so looking forward to your book.
I tip my hat off to you, even though I'm not wearing a hat. So best of luck and congratulations, Emily.
Emily, I am so proud of you. Congratulations. And I just know that loving and living your way through grief is going to make such a big impact and difference in the lives of so many people.
I'm so proud of you for completing this book and sharing it with everybody. You're going to help so many people, and I can't wait to read it myself. I already have my copy. Congratulations.
Emily, you never cease to amaze me with your beautiful heart and talent. Thank you so much for sharing yourself and your experiences.
Emily, God bless you. Wonderful work. Wonderful work.
My dad would be so proud. Thank you, Emily. Cheers and best wishes with the book.
I am just so privileged to have been able to watch part of this journey for you and to see how you transformed your own personal pain and grief into this amazing work of art, work of creativity, labor of love. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. And this is just the beginning.
Wow, I hadn't seen that in a while, and it brought me tears again. I have really enjoyed this experience, even though it was very deep and kind of a challenge. So I am happy to be here with you today. I'm happy to serve you however I can. If you go to my website, you'll find lots of different ways that I can. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any place like that, and you'll get constant encouragement from me. And I see we have a question. I'm not sure exactly how to do this. Kim, if you could just type your question in the chat, can you do that so that I can answer you? Because I'm not sure how to.
Let me, if I can kind of start it off with the question and I can voice it over if that's okay, Emily.
That would be great.
Okay. First of all, amazing. The testimonials just are further testament also to the universality of this, that all of us are going through these situations one time or another. And thank you for your service. And, you know, obviously we grieve for your losses, but that you've been able to turn that into a positive and to help so many other people is just wonderful. I'm wondering, you come from a writing and a teaching background, and you obviously have put your thoughts and your advice into words. And you said many of the exercises also revolve around writing exercises. How does that play into it as far as, does a person have to be a writer, or how did the writing process help you? I know that journaling can be very powerful for many people, but if you could just kind of speak to your experiences as a writer and how you were able to channel that into helping other people.
That's a great question, Mike. I appreciate that. You don't have to be a writer to do these exercises. They're just for you. You can share them if you want to, but they're really just things for you to think on paper. And a lot of times when you just think about things with your mind, and your mind's going a million different places, you just kind of spin instead of getting something out. So the process of writing something down is very valuable. I'll give you an example of one of the practices that is in the book, and that's to write yourself a letter. And now we can all write letters. You know, they can be just as personal as you want them to be. There's no right or wrong to it. You just write what you want write what you want to express or tell the person you're writing to. And in this case, I want you to write a letter to the person who you lost. We don't actually lose people, but the person who's not there with you anymore in person. So write this letter and tell them everything you want to tell them, anything that you didn't get to tell them before they transitioned, anything that you want to be sure that they never forget, anything like that. Just pour your heart out into this letter and make it be as long as you want to. And write the letter. Then as soon as you finish that letter, start writing another letter, and write this letter from your loved one to you. Don't think about it, don't judge it, just start writing and see what comes out. And you'll be amazed. You'll see the support that you have. You'll see the love that you share. You'll find lots of golden things in there that are really special. My writing groups, when we do this exercise, are always absolutely shocked. They said, that's exactly what I needed to hear. I can breathe now. I can feel a closeness to my person, whoever it is. And I can't tell you for sure where those letters come from, but I do know that they will include just what you need to hear. So that's an example of the kind of writing that you can do. One of the
Very
exercises.
nice. And that is just, as I said, so helpful to so many people. And that's a wonderful gift that you've given them. And because you've been able to help so many people in just the short time the book has been out, we talked offline that you've been able to have some opportunities to meet new people, to do interviews around the country, and really to spread that. What are some of the doors that have opened up for you? You mentioned you had a really interesting interview just yesterday, but what are some of the doors that have opened up for you, and how have you started to see how this book can gravitate and help people throughout the country, throughout the world?
Well, the interview that Mike mentioned yesterday was really kind of spectacular. Jack Canfield, who's the person who has facilitated the Chicken Soup for the Soul series and has sold almost 600 million books. That number just blows me away that would happen to anybody. It's not just one book, but it's the whole Chicken Soup for the Soul series and his Success Principles books and the things that are written about that. He's a fantastic interview, and in his talking to me, the questions that he asked and the things that he said were profound to me, as opposed to me giving all the information. He was giving information to me, which was a door that opened for me, that I could see that I was on the right path, doing what I needed to be doing. And I'm finding people all over. And that little video you saw was an international video. There were 2 people from Canada. There was a person from Australia that all wanted to contribute to that. I'm seeing also the universality of grieving and loss. And so many people have been talking to me about their losses because of COVID and what's going on with that. And that people are grateful that they have some place to turn, because a lot of times people will hold their grief inside, and the more you try and hold it inside and tamp it down, the harder it is to deal with. It becomes constricting, and it's very important to be able to share your thoughts and feelings. And I'm able to facilitate that with them. In the interviews and the podcasts and radio shows and things that I've been doing, I've been able to have an outlet for people to, even if they're not talking to me directly, they're thinking, yeah, other people feel this way too. I thought I was the only one. So I really enjoy that, and it's quite an adventure with the promotion of the book and all the other things that I'm doing. And I've seen how much this work is needed right now, and I'm seeing how much people can do for themselves when they just have some inspiration to get going with that.
Very nice. Very good. My last question is kind of a bookseller question. It seems to me that this would be a very appropriate book if you yourself are going through grief and you come across it. It can be very helpful for you. But correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems also that this would make a nice gift for somebody that you know who is having difficult times, and maybe they can use this to find solace and to guide them through the process. So it can also be a gift as well. Is that true to the case?
Absolutely. I probably have more books given as gifts than the actual grievers themselves right now at this point. It's a really ideal book. I know Lori, you saw her in the video, and she's the one that I wrote that initial letter to, said that after Chap died, people kept giving her books, and she had a pile of books next to her bedside table. And she was having a hard time finding something in them that was positive and gave her hope. They mostly were sad. And so she was just thrilled when I wrote my book. And when I was talking to Jack Canfield yesterday, he was saying the same thing, that he said that a friend of his had his wife had just died, and he was getting the book right away and sending it to him because he could see the value of the book, the way it could help them. And I love the idea of doing that. He also asked me an interesting question of when's the appropriate time to give the book. And I said, you know, right away, when somebody has just had an immediate loss, their mind is not functioning real well. Some people call it a grief fog. They just are having a hard time focusing on something. So I would say give it a week or two, or if you're talking to them, see when they seem like they would be receptive to actually reading something. However, you can give it to them anytime in your grief. I have people in my groups online that say that they started, they're a year out, or one was 3 years out from the loss, and they were thrilled to do it then. And another thing,
I was just about to ask that, because it seemed to me that if you know that this transition is happening, if a person's in hospice or the situation, that this can actually be a guide throughout that process as well.
absolutely. When you're dealing with any kind of loss, and there's, especially with COVID right now, we're dealing with lots of different kinds of losses. And this book can help bring you back and focus on, okay, I can do something, I can breathe, I can find something positive in this. And another thing that I think would be a really good use for the book is for book groups, because everybody suffers loss in their lives, some more than others, some more recent than others, but we all deal with loss, and we mostly don't talk about it. So the idea of doing it in a book group together where you're all reading it, you might take a chapter at a time and go over what was in that chapter that helped you and what you did about it. So
Very nice.
I think that would be a really nice thing to do.
Yes, and it resonates with me also that the book is positive and uplifting. You're right. There are a lot of books that are dealing and helping you go through the grieving process, but this seems to be very proactive and very positive, and it just seems to be the right message at the right time. So again, thank you for, out of your grief, making something so positive and so helpful to other people.
Thank you for helping me share it.
By all means. Is there anything you'd like else to share with us today?
Well, just stay in touch. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you think about the book. I'd love to hear your stories. Come to my writing group or join the groups online, whatever you'd like to do. I also have a couple of classes that you can take on writing and on reclaiming your joy that you can take online. So there's lots of things out there, and I would be thrilled to hear from you.
Thank you, Emily, for joining us today. Emily has been a Bakersfield icon for years, and now she is in Maui, Hawaii. Her new book is Loving and Living Your Way Through Grief. And just give my real quick pitch. We do have it in stock here at Russo's Books, 15% off. Please go to our website, russosbooks.com. You can also stop by our office. We'd be happy to help you that way. Put an order online, telephone, email. And Emily has also provided us with autographed book plates. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate that as well. And a free autographed book plate with every book purchased. Thank you, Emily, for joining us today. It's been wonderful to have you. And I wish you so much success going forward. And thank you for what you're doing. You're right. During this COVID time, this is very difficult. And again, the right book, the right message, the right time, the right person to deliver it as well. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And aloha.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.